Joe, thank you so much for playing my recording on your show. That really means a lot. A lot of work went into it, and it just is the most beautiful and rewarding thing is when people, take the time to listen to it and share it. So thank you.
Yeah, validating your creative works and artist validation. I know it's cliche where it's like, yeah, it's not what we do it for, but you don't want to be in a vacuum when you realize that people enjoy it and it's out there, and it's a lot of work that goes into creating an album. So that's why we're
Yeah.
here to celebrate it. So let's get into it. And I want to begin before we get into Zito's Jump. I want to know first and foremost, 5 years ago, this pandemic just melted away all of the calendars and it affected musicians in very distinct ways. Now that we're out of it, especially being in New York City, the capital of jazz in the world, how did you make it through it and how has it reverberated into either creating or the way that you live your life as a musician now?
Well, the pandemic was such a tough time for everyone, absolutely. And for me, I was just at the tail end of my undergraduate studies at Manhattan School of Music. I was living here in New York City. I graduate 2019 in May. I accept an offer to go to Michigan State University and with Rodney Whitaker, study with Randy Napoleon, one of my mentors. And so I actually just got out of New York right before all of that craziness hit our world and turned us all upside down, right? So I'm in Michigan. I get half of a year in school teaching in a graduate assistantship program, and I'm getting my bearings together, learning how to figure out my artistic vision, what I want to do. I was actually writing a lot of the music for this album during that time, and then boom, the world goes upside down, and I'm not sure what to do, but we had to adapt. We had to keep moving. So I transferred everything online and, learned how to conduct, reorient my whole music course. I was teaching jazz improvisation to non-majors, doing that type of thing. And all at the same time, throughout the next year and a half, I had to, put together my recital, which now had to be a digital recital. It had to be something I had to create that could be published online as a video rather than only worrying about the live performance element because I had to record myself speaking to an audience, had to still give, talk about all the research I've done, why I was performing the music we were putting out, which was a lot of originals, and some of these actually arrangements that ended up being on my record or were posted as in that same video from my Michigan State University graduate recital. So for me, it was a time that I was able to put together my ideas, really be thoughtful about what I wanted to do, because I would have put this record out 2 years ago, 3 years ago if I could have.
Yeah.
But, of course, gathering the resources and being really sure on the intent of the album and what it is you're trying to, get across to your audience, because it's not even just about the songs and it's the people and how the songs connect to the people that you surround yourself with. The musicians I chose specifically, like Rodney Whitaker, he told me when I was 19, I just gotten into his band in the Dr. Phillips Jazz Orchestra in Orlando, my hometown. And he told me at a really young age, "Hey, I really want to be on your first record. Let me know when you're going to record because it would be awesome for us to collaborate." I'm paraphrasing, of course. He's a man of much less words. I think he said something simple like, "I want to just the first part. I want to be on your album. Let me know when you're going to do it." And I had, that was a big task for me at that point to imagine putting out a recording because I had never felt ready. I was like, man, what do I have to say? I still have so much to learn. I have to continue growing. I don't want to, jump into too many of your questions because I know you haven't really asked me much yet. I like to splurge it all out sometimes, but
No, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah, no, you gave me a great blueprint to go off of. And obviously, this being the first album, it's a big deal. It's a big shout out into the world of jazz. It's like, I'm here. This is me. So, did you have any trepidation going into that, or is there just full on adrenaline excitement going into this and putting this out to the world?
Well, for me, it's a lot of adrenaline and excitement. I wasn't super afraid, and that was a part of putting out that track, "Ready and Able." That's the whole thing. Just like George Benson's one of my biggest. He's one of my idols. He's somebody I look up to as kind of the style of playing. His career trajectory. I love his ability to be a crossover artist, all these different things. But early on in his career, brother Jack McDuff's band. And also with Lonnie Smith, he's got that record, The Cookbook. Um, and he plays this tune Ready and Able, with them, and it just inspired me so much. So when I was putting that song out on my record, I was thinking, oh man, I really want to make a statement with this. That's why I put it out as the first single. It really was a shout out, like, I am ready and able. Check this out. And it's not even just quartet or trio. We got the nonet. We're all here. Check out how dense this ensemble can get. But I purposely did it as a really short recording because I was thinking, everyone puts out these large ensemble recordings and they're always like 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. And I really wanted to just do something short and punchy and say, hey, are you excited about this? You want to hear more of this? Keep diving into this record because there's plenty more to explore.
So let's go back to your beginnings. You mentioned Orlando, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I grew up in Kissimmee and St. Cloud, Florida, but I
Okay.
was born in Orlando.
Okay. So let's go back to your beginnings and how did you get the music bug? How did the guitar become your instrument and jazz your world?
Oh, well, my grandfather, on my mom's side, Harold Coleman, he was the reason that I was inspired to play guitar. He was more of like a country, gospel blues type guitarist. And, my mom, on my mom's side, we had the Coleman Family Band, which was a traveling Baptist church family band, and just in the South, which I didn't find out about until years later when my mom pulled out a CD at Christmas and was like, "Didn't you know about this in your family?" I'm like, "What?" I had no idea. I just knew that my grandfather played guitar at me or for me just around the house, and I would be so intrigued by it. I would stop what I'm doing, just sit down and watch and enjoy it and just feel, so many wonderful feelings. And he would sing and he knew so many classic songs, which I wish I could really remember exactly what they were because I would have appreciated them a lot more. But he passed at a really young age. I was only 7 years old when he passed away. And I already had that really strong impression about the guitar, and I felt a calling. It was this thing all at once. I accepted the Lord Jesus Christ into my heart. I started playing the guitar, and my grandfather died all in the same,
Wow.
what felt like month, or definitely the same year. So it
Yeah.
was this really early calling that I was like, okay, this is something much greater than myself. And I just, started out like any kid. I got a very small 3/4 size guitar, first act from Toys R Us. I begged my dad to buy it for me. My sister convinced him, "Hey dad, it's only $50. Maybe it'll keep him busy." And $50 was still a lot of money at the time. I mean, we were not doing super well. My dad was picking us up between, custody and all this type of stuff. So we ended up just stopping, and this was something that I could just escape to. It was the guitar. It was these long road trips. I've been traveling my whole life too. It's like always a flight since I was very young. Always like just between my mom and my dad's house because they lived in different states. So I would either take a drive or I'd take a flight. So it's really funny because now living the life of a full-time musician, that's how I make my living. I'm constantly traveling, touring, you know, it's either a car ride, a bus ride, or a plane ride with a guitar. So it's like that early time from where I started with guitars has always been that way. And yeah, and what can I say? It's taken me around the world. It's helped me figure out who I am, find out how to express myself, especially as a writer, because that's my main tool for writing as well.
So who's been inspirational? Who have been some jazz voices, albums that have really swayed you and helped you find your voice?
Oh gosh. Well, from the very beginning, it was a lot of I started out with Oscar Peterson, Wes Montgomery, uh, Grant Green, uh, Johnny Smith, definitely. And the one that I really have to highlight is Charlie Christian. I didn't start out being influenced by Charlie Christian, but at an early age, Dave Potter, drummer from uh, Orlando, Florida-ish. He was probably more from Jacksonville or Tallahassee. But my band director, Miguel Alvarado, it was his friend, but he brought him to our high school and he hipped me to Charlie Christian that day. And he said, "You have a really good sound. You should check out Charlie Christian because he's going to really teach you about like swing guitar. And I think he has the best tone of any guitarist recorded even today. And it intrigued me. So I was like, okay, I'll check out some Charlie Christian. Boom, start transcribing Charlie Christian solos, which puts me into Benny Goodman's band, which puts me in contact with Dizzy and those late night Minton's jam sessions. And I start finding out about all this history, which really ignites my jazz bug. And I'm like, okay. And then I come to find out George Benson and Charlie Christian were, excuse me, not Charlie Christian, George Benson and Wes Montgomery were highly influenced by Charlie Christian's playing. And I was like, okay, so these guys, I got to go further back. Who are all these early characters? Django Reinhardt, huge influence of mine. Les Paul, huge influence of mine. You start to see the lineage of, okay, if you reach back, you're only going to be able to go more ahead into the future, because, in my opinion, because uh, a lot of the people around me were trying to do a really modern approach and checking out John Scofield, Pat Metheny, Kurt Rosenwinkel. I love those players as well. People always peg me as only a swing jazz guitarist. I play all styles. I play rock, I play reggae, I play more modern jazz, I play traditional. My heart is in the traditional bag. I love the history of the music. I love pianists like Teddy Wilson. It's not just guitar players too. That's the thing. I think a lot of people, especially guitarists, get hung up only in the guitar realm, but there's like Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, Louis Armstrong, the reason, the why, you know, all those people have influenced me equally as much as the guitarists have. So just a ton of people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So let me ask you this. What was the first live jazz show you saw that blew you away, that made you think, I want to do that one day? That's where I want to be.
Ooh, first live jazz show that made me feel that. Ooh. Well, yeah, it was actually we had a place in Orlando called the White House, but it's the Timucua Jazz Foundation. I played there a few times now, but when I was in high school, my band director Miguel Alvarado and a cast of some of the professors from around uh Florida, like Florida State University's Leon Anderson was playing drums. I don't know if they had Rodney Whitaker on this gig that because he might have been a guest on this, but it was just a gig of some professors that had been playing in my hometown where like they were the main act and the people who got into like all state or whatever got to open up for them. It was this big event where they were just kind of bringing celebrating some of the younger musicians and then putting together a show with like the more seasoned professors. And I saw them play and I was like, oh my gosh, this feeling is like nothing else. And I have an equal story, not really a performance I saw, but rather a performance that I was a part of that really made me that was the moment that I said, okay, I want to do this. And it must have been like 2014. I was in West Palm Beach and there was a Juilliard jazz camp going on there. And my parents, uh, so that gracefully, for my birthday weekend, actually, it was what it was. I got to go to this camp. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I didn't think anything of it. I just went. I just wanted to enjoy and continue because I had already had the jazz bug. I wanted to go to school uh, for the music, and Juilliard was definitely on the top of my list of somewhere I wanted to apply. So being at the camp was cool. And I auditioned at the first day of the camp, and I find out I get into the top ensemble, which you know, I hadn't really been given that top ensemble opportunity up until this point. In my school, I was sort of in the B band instead of the A band until sort of my senior year. It took me a few years to really rise up among the ranks, but that was a huge validation for me in that moment. So I got in the top ensemble, and that was great. We worked really, really hard with Ron Blake, who's a great saxophonist. I think he
Yep.
plays on Saturday Night Live Band, and he also teaches at Juilliard. And he was our combo director, and he really encouraged us a lot. And on the last concert, I got to play. I got a new guitar actually gifted, which I still have to this day. It was my 1952 Gibson ES 125, and that was a huge gift to be receiving as like a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
My stepmom really believed in me and saw the promise in my playing and wanted to give me a good, really nice instrument because I saw it and I was just enamored with it the night before the concert. So I play this new guitar that I've never played in my life before on this concert, and I know and I understand that it's like 1952. It must have been some type of jazz thing. And there was this moment where I was playing just Sandu, the blues, on stage with the band, and I was the happiest I've ever felt. I mean, like joy emanating from my face, like this big smile. And they have a video of it somewhere. My parents do, and they said, "I've never seen you look so happy. I've never seen you be, be that way." And I was like, "Yeah, it because we were swinging. I felt swing. That's what it was. I felt like we actually like were playing real swing, and from the realest I have ever played or felt in that moment,
That's
and
awesome.
it was just something so beautiful, and of course it was on a blues, and the blues is my everything. It's my why. Uh, and the guitar and blues go hand in hand. It was all these things together, and yeah, I'm just so thankful for that moment and for all those things happening at once, and for people believing in me and helping put me into uh those circles, those spaces, because
So
it changed the trajectory of my whole life.
for
Yeah.
sure. So let's stretch that notion there into this. Every day you wake up, why do you like to be a professional musician? What's the greatest thing about this job that you've picked?
The fact that you never know what to expect. Every day brings something new. It's not like a 9 to 5 cookie cutter job. You still have to put in a lot of work, and you still have to market yourself. You have to do so much stuff behind the scenes outside of just being an artist, especially when you're an independent artist like myself. But the most exciting thing is I never know what the next email or next message or call is gonna entail. And then that also influences my writing. It influences my experience and allows me to continue pouring into my art and my composing. And yeah, I just love that I've got myself to a point where I can trust that no matter what call comes through, I'm gonna be able to face that new challenge and meet new people. And I love just getting to connect with other artists and creatives and musicians, especially, in this scene, especially here in New York. It's just really exciting. And that's the other big thing that I love about it is that I get to be based here in New York City, and there's so much collaboration and opportunity, and it's just exciting.
So why do you love this art form we call jazz?
I love this art form we call jazz because it's freedom of expression. It allows all people to come together. It's a very modern concept. People of all races and ages and ideologies coming together for one unified purpose to create joy and understand one another through songs of sorrow or songs of triumph. It's a universal language. It allows us to connect with people who might not know how to speak our language the best, but I can play something to them and make them smile or make them cry, and we can understand each other at a very human level. So that's why.
So at the end of the day, James, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans, everyone that's on the bandstand with you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
My perception of myself is outgoing, confident, strong-minded. A lot of times I like to hang in in the back a little bit and also kind of keep to myself. There's moments of that. I'm a very pensive person. I like to express myself through jokes and comedy, and I think that at the end of the day, I'm I like to think that I'm very approachable. And if you don't think I am, here's me telling you, please approach me. I would love to have a conversation. I like connecting with people ultimately at the end of the day. And yeah, I want to spread joy. So
Right on. So what was the stage when you finally made it to New York? I mean, that's the land that launches thousands of dreams. What was the stage that you finally played on where you were like, I can't believe this is happening?
well, it just happened to me a few months ago, or probably, yeah, I guess a month and a half, 2 months ago. I got to play with the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra and Wynton Marsalis
Wow.
for their Bebop Revolution concert, which bebop is something that I hold so near and dear, and I love so much. I love Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Bud Powell, all their music, and we got to play some of those compositions, and it was like just one of the most beautiful experiences, full circle for me, coming from as an essentially Ellington alumnus, coming to New York and being called by Jazz at Lincoln Center and Wynton's team to come just be a part of that concert. That was the moment. I was like,
Yeah.
wow. And I've been in New York 10 years now. I mean, of course, I left during that Michigan State period for a couple of years, but all, here nor there. We've still been 10 full years since I have stepped foot in this city. And now I feel like that all that time and all that hard work and networking and trying to connect with, people from those stages, now it's like finally reaping the benefits. And I'm so thankful and so much gratitude in my heart for that moment. To be able to tell my parents and my loved ones and my friends, like, hey, I'm actually doing it with, I get to play with Wynton Marsalis and all the members of that orchestra. They are just inspiring, and it only makes me want to keep going further.
That's the top of the mountain, man. Hey, if anyone wants to pick up Zito's Jump, they want to catch you live, anything else going on, where do they go?
JamesZitomusic.com. ZITO, JamesZitomusic.com. And that's where you can find my CDs. You can pre-order your vinyl LP, or you can get a digital copy of Zito's Jump.
I love it. I will put this in the show notes. James, it's so great to connect. I love your energy. I look forward to more conversations down the line. Best of luck with everything, man.
Thank you, Joe. It was a pleasure. I appreciate you having me.
Jazz fans, Joe Domino here, the host of the weekly Neon Jazz radio show and regular interview series being produced and distributed from Lee Summit, Missouri. We are very excited to let you know about the second annual Lee Summit Jazz Festival taking place again this summer on June 28th at the Bridge Space, located at 210 Southwest Market Street in downtown Lee Summit. Following the success of the 2024 festival, the lineup will include Lee Summit students, KC Area Youth Jazz, Paganova with Michael Pagan, Horoscope with Stan Kessler, Brad Gregory, Adam Larson, and the Lee Summit Jazz Orchestra. There will also be food trucks and vendors to round out a day of celebration. Early bird tickets are 2 for $30, and all details can be found at lsjazzfest.com. We can't wait to see you there.